everyone. I'm so happy to be here today as we are in our second Thrive Thursday Masterclass of March. And of course, can you tell what today is? St. Patrick's Day. I'm in my green. I have a special guest, Julie Jones, and she is our leprechaun for the day. And she is going to be teaching us all about stop waiting, start living, which is so important. It rocks her book that she has. I was so thankful to be able to be a contributor in that book. But let's go ahead and start real quick. Sharon, will you please just introduce yourself and give us a 30-second spiel of who you are and where you're joining us from?
Sure. My artist name is Sharon Luella, and I've been selling my artwork for about 6 months now. And my artwork is a variety of what we call tangle, which includes patterns, and then acrylic painting. And so I've been through a lot in my life. And so what my mission for my business is that women especially know that they're not alone and that they are created, valued, and loved by God. And I put that in my artwork, and I put that in as I tell my story. So
I love that, Sharon. Woo! Thank you so much for sharing that. Where are you coming out of? What state?
I'm Kansas.
Nice. And Sharon, you're the epitome of someone that decided to stop waiting and start living because you were putting all of this artistry that you have on hold, and now you are blazing a trail forward. So congratulations on that. And we're hoping that everyone who is watching this video and joining us decides today that they're ready to go ahead and start living and stop waiting. My name is Colleen Biggs. I am your host. I have been a business coach for over 22 years, and I'm the founder of the LEAP community and the LEAP brand. So we're so happy that you are all here. And Julie, I'm just going to hand the microphone over to you if you can fit it in that chunky little face of yours. Doesn't she look cute, Vicki?
Adorable.
I mean, you can never not have fun around Julie Jones. I'll just share with everyone. I met Julie Jones at an event that we both went to on a Sunday, which was so awkward for me to go to an event on a Sunday a few years ago. And I just followed up with her because I was so intrigued by her, and something drew me to her. We became good friends. We met before the pandemic and all that happened. We got to have a sit down and talk to each other. And within a week and a half, she attended an event that I had in person. And it's kind of been nonstop ever since then, I would say, right? So we just recorded a podcast last week for BFFs, and we talked about our whole story and how we met and why we're around each other and why we like each other. And I can tell you this, surrounding yourself with the people that matter the most to you, that fuel your success, that believe in you, is one of the most important things you can do for your business. So if you're not already doing that, do that now. So Julie, I'm just going to hand this over to you for you to introduce yourself and share a little bit more about how all of us in everything we do can stop waiting and start living.
Woohoo! I'm so excited. But before I get started, since Vicki joined us, why don't you go ahead, Vicki, and give us a quick introduction of who you are, where you're coming from, and we'd love to know a little bit more about you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry I was late. I had another call that kept going longer than I expected. So Vicki Griffith Breakthrough. I work with women who've been struggling with dieting to really lose weight without the drop dead workouts, without the grueling food plans, and without giving up chocolate or wine. And I have learned there is chocolate wine. So there you go.
That is an example of start living, finding the combination of two things that you absolutely love. So, well, and I love to make this interactive. And, not only are these an opportunity for you to learn something, but they're also an opportunity for you to network. And all I can think of is right now, as I see these amazing paintings behind you, Vicki, and I don't know if you've done them or had somebody do them, but Sharon is an artist. And so my eye is drawn to the fact that, oh my gosh, two people who have something probably in common that automatically they can start connecting and collaborating on. And so there's no like no reason why that you weren't here today, right? So it's like, it's kind of like, first of all, congratulations, because there were a lot of people who were registered for this class today. And you said yes to yourself. You stayed true to your commitment. You showed up for yourself, not knowing that you were going to see a crazy leprechaun, on the screen. And that's what life is about. It's saying yes to the get tos and saying more no to the have tos. That's kind of one of the first tips that I'm going to give to you. You'll have a lot of them. So I hope you have a notebook and a little pen and, just take what resonates with you, right? Because I think so many times we go to speaking events, we go to motivational seminars, we get super excited about everything that they're talking about, and we attempt to implement everything, right? And then we implement absolutely nothing, big fat zero, right? Because I can just think about, when it comes to you, Vicki, I've done some classes. I've taught people healthy lifestyles. I don't believe in the word diet, that kind of thing. And so, but how it goes, right? People get all excited. They're going to eliminate sugar. They're going to eliminate alcohol. They're going to eat really clean. They're going to exercise 5 times a day. And they do it for like one day. And then they're like, what the hell was I thinking? And they stop, right? Because building a great habit takes some time. And so whatever you get from today, take one thing that resonates with you, just one, and, and go ahead and implement it on a daily basis. On average, I find a habit takes 90 days to really implement and stick. I know there's all kinds of books out there, 21 days, 30 days. Average statistics in a book I read said 66 days. I think that's still a little on the short side. So it's about 90 days. I've done coaching programs around 90 days where people really implement it and it sticks with them moving forward. Now, of course, I'm not perfect in this myself. I'm always like, gosh, why am I not sticking with it? Right. And it's all just a decision and a choice that we make. So anyway, so going back to what my first tip was, is, saying yes to more life opportunities. Anybody seen the movie The Yes Man with Jim Carrey? Oh my gosh. All right. First things first, that is your assignment. That is the one thing that you're going to do for yourself. Is Jim Carrey has this movie, The Yes Man. And what I love about the movie is the premise. Okay. He's one of these guys that say no, 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 no to everything. Right. Anybody else like that sometimes? I mean, it's easy to do. And here's why. What is the one word that we heard before the age of 2 more than anything? Anyone want to guess? No, that is correct. No, right? So it's so ingrained in our subconscious that when somebody offers us an amazing opportunity, we're like, hell no. And then you're like, oh my gosh, what did I just say no to? I don't even know what I said no to. So when you start to say yes to more life opportunities, exactly what he did in the movie, the great thing is that it opens up other doors. Okay. So I really want you to think about saying yes to more get tos rather than the have tos, because there is an art of saying no. As human beings and as entrepreneurs, and especially as women, we don't often like using that word, do we? We really don't. We don't like to say no because we feel like we're hurting someone else, or, okay, I can just fit one more thing in, right? At the sacrifice of ourselves. And really, when you say yes to a have to, you're saying no to another priority in your life. And that's what I really want you to remember as you take away with the idea of start living, is that it's really a challenge to create a life by design if we're saying yes to everything when we really want to be saying no. And there's so many great ways that you can just say no. Like you can say no kindly. Like here's a great way that you can say that you can do something. So say somebody asks you to be on a board, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for the opportunity. I just really don't have the time to devote to this right now. However, my good friend Colleen has lots of time and she would love to sit on your board. Okay. Now, like that's a graceful exit, right? And I do have people in my life that would be happy for the opportunity. Colleen's just as busy as I am, so that was kind of a joke. However, like, don't throw your friends under the bus. But like, there are people that we know that would be so excited for an opportunity to sit on a board or to be part of a fundraiser. That's really something that they're passionate about doing. And if you know it's a no, just give the no quickly and with kindness. And sometimes, just sometimes, we're not sure what the outcome could be. So ask for 24 hours before making a decision. So just, take the time and really take the time for yourself to look at the possible outcomes. Like, I know so many times we say yes, thinking it could turn into a great networking opportunity. It could turn into a great business avenue. We think that there could be like that rainbow, that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, right? And there often isn't. What do you find at the end of the rainbow sometimes? A whole lot of nothing, right? That's what could really be the case. And so really think about the time commitment, because there's nothing worse. And people as human beings feel it when you say yes reluctantly, and then all of a sudden it's taking you more time and more energy than you ever anticipated. And now everybody feels it. And everybody knows that you're real not happy to be part of this event. And if that ever happens to you, because trust me, I have said yes sometimes, and then I'm like, what the heck did I just do? And I've looked for a graceful exit. I again have said, you know what? At the time, I really thought that I was going to have enough time. I'm not giving 100% to this, and that's really not fair to you. And bow out gracefully. People would rather have you be honest with them. Human beings are lie detectors, right? Haven't you ever been in a situation where you feel that somebody has like said something to you, or they're teaching you something and they're really not living by, that example? We know it. We know when people are BSing us, right? So trust me, I've said no, or I've had to gracefully bow out of things. And it's been a learning process, because there was a time where I would be so overwhelmed and so stressed out because I had said yes to everything, that you know what I would often do? I would pick up the phone and start saying, like, I'm out. Like, everything that I had committed to, I was now no longer committed to. And that was a horrible feeling, because it chips away at your self-esteem. It chips away at your self-worth when you've committed yourself. And now all of a sudden, like, because you're stressed, overwhelmed. I mean, I've had, like crying breakdowns where I'm like, I just can't do it anymore, and had to call and tell people no. And people understand that, but don't get to that point. Like, just really consider each and everything that you're saying yes to, before you say no. Now, you can use the chat, or just like, if you have any questions, again, I like to make this interactive. And since you took the time to be here today, I want to make it a huge benefit for you. So if anything I'm saying you have any questions for, just start, waving me down, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, a question. I'm so excited. So I have a question to ask you though first. What would life look like if we had the courage to attempt anything? What would life look like if we had the courage to attempt everything and anything that's possible? Does anybody know what's the biggest thing that stops people from living the life they desire?
Fear.
Right? Now, listen, there are all kinds of fears. And I know there's all kinds of acronyms for fear. And so I'm not going to get into a lot of the fear, because I want to stay on the positive side of this. But here's what I want you to remember. There are really two bases for all of those fears. And they come down to these ideas of worth, right? So the number one thing that a lot of times people go to is, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not valuable. And that can be a lot of times where the fear starts, that we don't want to put themselves out there. Now, I got to ask you this. Does anybody think I am fearful of wearing a costume and putting myself out there? Absolutely not, right? That is my personality. See, because some people have like this this vision of like perfectionism, or they can't really show up as who they are, I'm here to tell you, as Colleen will tell you, so many people will tell you, you are enough. And you have a gift to bring to this world, right? You know, I've recently heard this over and over again, and I've really started to share this. We've all been put on this earth with a certain purpose, a certain passion, but more importantly, a message that we are the only ones that can deliver, and that people are only going to hear from us. That is who we are. And we really don't serve anyone if we're not being authentic and true to ourselves and putting that message out there. More than ever, this is the time that we really need to just be out there and collaborating and helping support each other, because there's enough business to go around for all of us. I'm all about creating win-win situations. Colleen and I are both coaches. We have, you know, different types of clients though. And like anytime either one of us are offered an opportunity to be on a summit or a speaking platform, we're thinking of the other one and we're saying, hey, do you know Colleen? Have you considered maybe having her on your platform? See, we can all do that for each other. I'm here to tell you, competition between all of us has got to stop. Because the more that we can do together, I really truly believe it's women that are going to change the world. Woohoo! Can I get a high five on that? Woohoo! High five. All right. So I talked about the first fear. The second fear that often comes into play stems from I'm not lovable. I'm not loved, right? We all want to be treasured. We all want to be felt that we're important and loved. And like nobody wants to run around in this world feeling like that they're less than, right? Like, I mean, that's an awful feeling to be. You know, I know so many people that have FOMO. Anybody ever experienced FOMO? The fear of missing out, right? Like a lot of times that can happen. And it's because of the self-sabotage that we talk to ourselves. You know, I love this exercise that I had the opportunity to do with Colleen once. I really want you to think about this in this moment, is that think about how you talk to yourself, right? Think about some of the negative things that you say to yourself over and over and over. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm, you know, this stupid. I can't believe this. I can't believe that. Whatever it is you tell yourself all the time. Now I want you to imagine standing in front of another person. Let's just say, Sharon, you're going to stand in front of me, right? And now you're going to say to me all those negative things that you say to yourself. How does that make you feel? Right? Like we would never talk to another human being the way that we talk to ourselves. So why do we do that? So I'm going to give you a tip. Boom, you ready? Here's my tip. When those negative things start to get in your brain, because those are the things that stop us from moving forward, from like living the life we truly desire, you're going to say, stop, cancel, clear, get the, now if you want to say F, ... or get the fear out of here, like your choice. I personally like to say the explicitive because it's more powerful to me, right? So get the hell out of here. Okay, we're just going to go with the F. Okay, get the F out of here. And then I am becoming, okay? Anybody use affirmations? A little bit? Okay. Like some people are on, some people are off affirmations. Here's what I myself personally have talked about with affirmations. When you say I am wealthy, okay? I'm just using that one as an example. If you really don't align with I am wealthy, it's very hard, no matter how many times you tell that affirmation to yourself, for the subconscious to really accept it, because there's a big part of the subconscious that's not accepting it. So no matter how many times you tell yourself I'm wealthy, it just doesn't resonate with you. But if you say I'm becoming more and more wealthy, Like, just think about that when you, like, if you said that out loud to yourself right now, the difference, because it's giving you the opportunity to become wealthy. So again, when fear approaches, Colleen's putting stuff in. It's like, stop, cancel, clear, get the F out of here. I am becoming more and more confident. I'm becoming more and more courageous. I am becoming more and more the woman of my dreams. Whatever you want to say to yourself, it's going to support you and help you. And getting rid of that negative self-talk. Negative self-talk is probably one of the most detrimental things that are going to stop us in our tracks from living the life we desire. So forgive me because I really didn't talk at the beginning as to why I'm so passionate about this. I am passionate about the idea of stop waiting because of what I've seen. I'm a former police officer. I was a police officer and SWAT member for about 10 years in Wisconsin. I now live in Arizona. And I saw how quickly life can change. Here today, gone tomorrow. See, everybody thinks they have a tomorrow. And I, unfortunately, had to be a person to give notifications, death notifications, seeing some of the most tragic things that, happen. And it was heartbreaking, right? Like telling a parent that their child isn't coming home, right? Because we all think we've got all this time. And then personally in my own life, it's hard to believe tomorrow, March 18th, 18 years ago, my mom passed away from early onset Alzheimer's at the age of 59. She too thought she had her entire life ahead of her. Luckily, my parents were able to retire when she was 52 and my dad was 55, but they thought they had all this time ahead of them, and they didn't. And then I lost my dad 2.5 years ago from undiagnosed pancreatic cancer. Again, 78 years old. See, I'm going to be 54 this year, and I'm proud of it. And so I think to myself, 78 is really not that old, right? So everybody, and especially in this time, like how many people have seen and known and like the tragic deaths over the last 2 years? Everybody knows somebody who's passed away from COVID. Sharon, I know that you personally too have experienced a real tragedy in your life, right? And so it's one of those things where like we don't have that guarantee. So like living each day as if it were our last, stop worrying about the past. It's the past for a reason. It happened. Don't let it play a role into today. And then so many times we are worried about what could happen. What if? We don't know what the future holds for us. See, we are human beings, not human doings. Like just live and be in the moment as much as you possibly can. Like there is going to be stuff that comes at us all the time, right? One of my favorite sayings is that life is not all sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns, right? Because some people look at me and say, oh my God, that Julie Jones, she's got a Pollyanna, attitude, right? Listen, the other thing that was a huge eye opener for me was on November 6th of this past year, I was at a wedding with my husband. My husband had a massive seizure. He died at the wedding and was resuscitated. He spent 5 days in the hospital. First couple of days were touch and go. At that point, that was November 6th, I had plans to release my book on November 17th. My publisher came to me and said, do you want to move forward? Now I had a lot going on. Like, trust me. Like I was like, there was a point that I said, why do I always have to be the strong one? Why do I always have to handle everything that's coming at me? But I realized that that's part of my gift, right? So I told my publisher, yes, because I knew two things. Number one, it was a lifelong dream of mine to put it out there. The universe was challenging me to see if it was something that I really wanted. And more importantly, I know my husband well enough that if he knew I put that on hold because of him being in the hospital, he would have been really upset. So I moved forward, released my book. Again, Colleen was one of my co-authors. It went to international bestseller in 3 countries, right? And he was out of the hospital at that point, and we were able to celebrate my success together. But that could have stopped me. That would stop anybody and bring them to their knees, right? But it's a choice. Like, things happen for all of us. They happen for us, not to us, right? And so it's like just always making that decision. Do you want to keep waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting? Or do you want to start doing and living? Because I promise you, and you've probably heard this before, nobody is on their deathbed, having regrets of what they did do. They're looking at all the things that they didn't do, the would have, could have, should haves. Like, I don't believe in shoulding on yourself. So like, take that, that word out of your vocabulary. Just go ahead though, and really think about, like, if today was my last day, what is something I really want to do? Is it like, maybe it's just a simple conversation with somebody that you've been wanting to have that conversation with, and like, you keep putting it off. I've had that happen too many times. Wanting to have a conversation with someone, they pop into my brain. I'm like, oh, I can call them, next week, whatever. Then the opportunity doesn't present itself because they're no longer here. So stop waiting. Get out there. Go and make it happen. All right. Who's got any questions right now so far? Any feedback that they want to give me? Because otherwise I'm going to, talk about some other tips about like living in the moment and, finding that courage. Anyone? Thank you, Sharon, for sharing on the chat.
I'll go ahead and make a comment. So just yesterday, I had to say no. Someone had asked me to be on their board. I'm already on a board in this organization. And in the past, I would have taken the 24 hours, but I think part of it is knowing who you are and knowing your time restraints. And I knew that if I would have said yes to that, I would have been miserable. So it was easier for me to say no. As difficult as it was easier to say no in that moment than it was to wait for 24 hours and worry about it and go back and forth about it, when in reality the answer was no. And so thanks for sharing that piece. In the past, that would have been very helpful for me, but now in my life, I make quick decisions, and a coach of mine said, make a decision and then make the decision right. And so that's what I'm used to doing. But I appreciate you sharing that, because a lot of times we don't say no enough. And I had a girlfriend that would say, every time I say yes to someone else, I'm saying no to me, and I'm going to stop doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. Because sometimes if we really listen to our intuition, we know that no is the right answer. And sometimes it's just hard in that moment to say it, because you're going to see somebody's face, you're going to see somebody's reaction. But I'm so confident and so sure that people appreciate that honesty. Like, they would rather have that quick no and know that it's a solid no. And don't waver. Don't be like, no, because that like leaves it open, right? Like, they're like, well, was that a no, a yes, and maybe? I'm not quite sure what she just said, right? So thank you. I really appreciate you sharing. So when it comes to, to living and to really be out there, I think you've heard a little bit, and maybe if not, I'm going to just say this: feel the fear and do it anyway and take action. Like, Vicki, I just love what you said about making a decision and just going for it, right? The most painful place for any of us to be is on the fence. We're straddling that fence, right? We're like not sure, because I always say this, right? Hindsight is 20/20 for a reason. And I always put my glasses on because it's perspective, right? So like, think about this. You make a decision today with the best information that you have. Then a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, and now you have more information, correct? And so then you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, again, you should on yourself. I shouldn't have done this. I should have done that, whatever it is. Well, now you have more information. But when you made your original decision, you made it with the best information you had. So stop looking back and just keep moving forward and take the action. Because what's the worst case scenario? Like I used to be afraid of failure, right? Like there's something around this idea of failure that everybody freaks out about. But really failure to me now is just a way that didn't work. Okay? It's like, "Oh, wow, that didn't work. So what else is out there, right?" Because there is an infinite amount of solutions to any issue out there. Sometimes I will tell you that when you're in it, you've got your personal filters and blinders on that you can't see all the possibilities. Now, I'm not saying that you have other people live for you, because opinions are like, I'll just say buttholes. Everybody's got one, right? So it's like everybody does, right? So it's like people are going to come to you, like they're going to give you all kinds of advice. Listen to you and your intuition. One of the best things you can do is sit in silence and just keep asking the question. Your source, your God, your universe, whatever you believe in, is going to give you an answer. But more importantly, you're going to know the answer within yourself, right? And then just go for it. Because if it doesn't exactly work out the way that you thought it was, it's a lesson learned. It's always a lesson learned. And in that, like what I just said, second thing is really to follow your heart. You know better than anybody else what it is that you were put on this earth to do. And Sharon, I love the fact, because I think it was just within the last 6 months, maybe a little bit longer, that you decided to follow your heart and be an artist. Because, you've done a whole lot of different things. I remember the first time I met you and you had like a litany of all the different stuff that you did, right? But now how much more are you enjoying life? And is life easier the fact that you're following your passion and your heart? It's not all going to be like, again, sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns, right? Like you probably have had a lot of obstacles come your way, but it's the universe kind of testing you to see if this is really what you want. We're always going to be tested, right? And so just realize that you have a gift and only you have that gift. Follow your heart and you will be surprised at where you go. So the other thing that, I often talk about when it comes to courage is persevering in the face of adversity. Anybody ever have to persevere? I mean, we all are thrown a lot at us at life, right? I mean, I just shared with you, just one of the many things that has happened to me in my life. And like, I have this visual of myself, and I've often said this: I get pushed down and I get back up, right? Like if you never quit on yourself and you keep persevering, oh my gosh, you are tenfold above everybody else, right? It's only when you decide that you're going to stay down after you've been kicked down and don't get back up that you've quit, right? Most of us, I think, as entrepreneurs and for all of us, it's like really feeling and like having that grit and determination. It's going to take you so far. And again, stop worrying what everybody else thinks. I've got this thing that I often talk about, right? Sometimes like that gets up in here too. Like we're so worried about what everybody else thinks, or so worried about everybody else's opinions, right? So let's just say that knock, 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 Grim Reaper comes to my door, right? Hey, Grim Reaper, I'm not ready to go. Well, it's your time. No, I'm not ready to go. Let me call my friend Colleen, see if she'll take my place, right? Right. I called Colleen. Colleen's like, hell no, I got a lot left to do, right? So like, if you think about that, nobody's going to take our place in death. Why do we allow them to have so much impact while we're living, right? Like our friends and our family and everybody, they're extremely important to us. But at the same token too, it's like, take everything what is said to you with a grain of salt. There are people that vibrate at the same level that you do. And those people, like I collaborate with, I mastermind with, I take what they have to say to heart, but ultimately the decision is yours. Ultimately, the decision is yours. Stop living for everyone else and live for yourself. Stand up for what is right. Like if you truly believe in something, stand up for it. See, it's very interesting to me and kind of these dynamics. I was bullied in both grade school and high school. And, the lessons I learned from that, like, somebody pointed out to me recently, because I know a lot of women who, happen to be bullied, right? Women, as we're growing up, can be some of the meanest people in the world, right? It's like, I just don't get it. But I know guys experience bullying and stuff as well, too. But like, I remember growing up, and when I was bullied, I still had some friends. Obviously, my friends weren't bullying me. It was like all the other people that would bully me. And it's a horrible place to be. But then I would look around, and I don't know what made me do this, but I would look around and I would realize that there were other kids, other people that didn't even have one friend. And so what would I do? I would befriend them and at least let somebody, because I was bullied. But you know what? I still had friends, but I wanted to make it a point that nobody else was friendless. And like, I look at that and how that's carried on into my life today, because let me tell you, I mean, it's not always been easy. Like even in your 20s and in your 30s, there's still a lot of like competition and cattiness and those kinds of things. And it was a choice I just made. Like, you know what? If you know me, everybody's included. It's sometimes so funny, like, people worrying about, well, are you going to get along with this person? Are you going to get along with that person? You know what? You don't have to like everybody, but you can respect them. That's the bottom line, right? We're all in this world together having a human experience. We don't know what path anybody else has walked. So just be kind, right? Just be kind to other people. You don't know what their journey is that they were having. So I like to stand up for what is right. And I like to smile at people, make people give eye contact, say hello, how you doing, right? Because it's that human interaction and that human connection. We're walking around sometimes too much, with the head down, not looking at other people. Like we're so busy in what we've got going on that we forget about everything else that's around us. That's why I hated the masks. I hated the masks because I would always smile. Like you could see my eyes glowing, but people were just, they just truly couldn't be themselves, like how I felt with the masks, like you didn't know people were smiling. And it almost gave people this, some people, not everybody, but this like right to be and say anything that they wanted to, kind of being mean, like some things that you would never say to another human being, but hey, I got this mask on, so they don't really know who I am. So I'm just going to say what I want to say. Yeah, that's not how life works. So, just stand up for what is right. Expand your horizons. My next tip, expand your horizons and let go of the familiar. Let go of the comfortable. There is so much in life in being uncomfortable and taking a little bit of a risk, right? Okay, so like my idea of risk is jumping out of an airplane and going skydiving, right? So maybe that's not your type of risk, right? But let me tell you something. It's a great exercise in surrender, like surrendering to what is, because when you're jumping tandem, when that instructor decides to go, you have no control over it, right? And sometimes that's how it is in life. We're attempting to control everything. It's like, let go and surrender to what could possibly be. Like I just recently discovered this, and maybe you've already known this, and there are 6 basic human needs. And I always focus on these 2 because I find it very interesting how they're a dichotomy. So one of the first human needs that all of us have is the need for certainty, right? To be like certain and control, like that we know what's coming at us, right? There's this whole idea of being certain. Anybody want to guess what the second human need is? Second human need is uncertainty. We all want to have like a little bit more risk. We want to have like the unknown. We want to have that sense of adventure. So you can see, like, if those are basic human needs, how they work sometimes against each other. And so like, you're always figuring out, well, is this like for me to be certain or is this for me to be uncertain, right? Just go for it. Like that's what life is about. It's just going for it. Sometimes not knowing, the like what's going to be the outcome, right? The what ifs. The what ifs stop us too much. So just go for it.
Okay, I got to share something
Yes.
because the other thing that most people don't know are the only two fears that we're born with. We're actually born with two fears as babies. Have you guys heard of it? Yeah. So fear of falling, fear of loud noises. So any other fear you have, by the way, was not what you were born with. It's what you created and made up. I'm serious. Is that crazy to think about that? I just want everyone to let that soak in for 2 seconds. We were not born with that fear. So we created that fear over time. If it's not a loud noise or falling, which I think we all have the fear of falling still. If you're standing on the edge of a mountain or something, although I don't have that big of a fear. My husband's always like, get away from the edge. I'm sharing that with you because everything else, exactly what Julie's talking about, you're stopping yourself from living because you're allowing a story that you created for yourself to be reality when in truth, it isn't. Kind of like mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is really, because you're absolutely right. It is the story that we create. And when we fixate on that fear and we project it into the future, that's where the worry and the anxiety stops us from moving forward, because we're always in the what if. Oh my God, what if, what if? It's only the stories that we tell ourselves. So start telling yourself a different story. Start, how can you shift the story that you're telling yourself? Because that's really what's key. And here's the one thing, I learned this once before. And, sometimes again, we go to this beat up mode, right? It's like, oh my God, why do I have to be so scared? Or why do I have to be afraid of dogs and bees, right? I just saw Colleen post that, right? I'm afraid of dogs and bees, right? So why does it have
scared?
To be
I have physical reactions to where my heart pounces, I sweat, and I freeze. I don't know what to do around either. So I know that's just me. There's nothing wrong with the dog or the bee. I know it's me. Right. I just haven't found the right therapist to get over it yet.
Well, so here's what, Colleen, you can use and everybody can use is this statement. I forgive the fear that I am feeling now. I forgive the fear that I am feeling now. See, remember, we always talk about forgiveness. Forgiveness is for ourselves. It's not necessarily for the other person, right? And so again, when we're having that fear, I just don't want you to leave, because I'm always about uplifting and, building, your self-esteem and your self-worth. So we're all going to have fear. So just forgive it. Forgive yourself in that moment. Forgive the fear that I am feeling now, and just see and do that on a regular basis and see how that can shift and change things for you as you move forward. And, I guess the one thing I'm going to wrap up with, because I'm always about the gift of time, right? Because you allotted it an hour and you're probably back to back for meetings, or maybe that's just me, right? And then you got to take your bio break, or you got to be running around. It's sometimes this will give you a little opportunity to maybe meditate, just take a few minutes for yourself and really absorb what you learned from today. And then go ahead and take the one thing that you're going to implement, right? But here's the biggest thing that I want to leave you with. I did a video today in my leprechaun costume, and I've posted it out on all my social media, right? And it's my tip for today, and it's have fun. Have fun. I really, truly believe that so many times we're so in the thick of it, and we're in those have-tos too much. And when you go to bed at night, I want you to really celebrate, really truly celebrate what you did get done. Because as human beings, we have a tendency to go to what didn't get done. Listen, all those tasks, all that crap, it's going to be there day in and day out. But what did you do for yourself? And if you didn't do anything for yourself, like before you go to bed at night, maybe this will keep you up, right? Or like you wake up in the morning and you're feeling a little tired. I promise you this will work. You're going to do 3 jumps. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited, right? And you do that and you can't help but feel excited about who you are and your life, right? That's what I mean to celebrate. There's so many opportunities that we can be out there having fun, making an impact, making a difference. You know, I'm here to tell you that I have some outside events later today, and I'll be wearing this costume as I head out to meet people, and people just maybe expect it, maybe they don't. But people who don't know me, they always smile. They always laugh. And so many times people will come up to me and they'll say to me, you know what? I really wish I could do that. And I say to them, why can't you? Like, what is stopping you? Because again, we're so worried about what everybody else is going to think. Stop waiting and just start living your life. Just be out there, making a difference, making an impact, and enjoying each and every minute. Thanks for your time.
Not Julie Jones. She's not scared of anything. Julie, you got to put on your head so the rest of everyone can see it, because I don't think everyone got to see your awesome head that you had on earlier. She looked great. Oh my gosh, it's the best. So let's open up the mic for anyone who wants to share maybe a breakthrough that you've had or something. I mean, even me, you know, I'm around Julie a lot. And when I thought about it, I'm like, I am scared of dogs and bees. And why do I allow that fear to take a hold of me and consume me? Because I'm carrying with me weight that I don't need to from a dog attack when I was a child, right? I'm still carrying that story, and I'm still carrying that weight with me. And I need to unpack it and get over the fear and just know that there is no reason for me to feel that, and just be able to bless that and release it and stop it holding me back and, you know, yielding me down. So I want to thank Julie, because I've been around Julie a lot and I never once even thought about it to let it go that way. So what about you, Vicki?
I love the statement, forgive the fear that you're feeling right now. I love that a lot. And when I first saw her, I heard a story in the car this morning as I was going to a networking event. And it was an audio of a mom and their 3-year-old. And the 3-year-old was telling mom that the leprechaun stole her binkies. So evidently they were trying to get rid of the binkies. You know, I'm like, what a horrible story to tell her, a leprechaun who stole her binkies. But I'm like, oh, there's the leprechaun that stole her binkies.
Yes.
But thanks, Julie. I really do appreciate you showing up as you. That gives us the courage to show up as ourselves,
Well,
even
thank
without
you.
the leprechaun costumes.
Thank you. Well, and you know, it's funny because I had a coaching client prior to this, and she turned on the camera and there I was dressed as a full leprechaun, right? Like, and she just started laughing. And then she had a story to share as well, too, about her granddaughter, you know, and her granddaughter was talking about capturing leprechauns. And like, my client didn't remember that story. And then like when the granddaughter went into it, then she remembered it, you know, and obviously made an impact on, you know, her granddaughter, like telling this story about leprechauns, right? I mean, there's so many things. And again, it's a story. Like, how many times do stories play a role in our life that maybe like even our parents, and I'm not into the blame game, right? But our parents told us something innocently, maybe to, you know, give us a reason why, or they were so tired of us saying why, right? You know, they just come up with some crazy story. Then you believe it. And then, like, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, well, I guess that wasn't true, or whatever it is. Like, we all say things and do things at that moment and create those stories. I've created stories like when people don't return my phone calls. Oh, they don't like me. You know, like, oh my gosh, you know, what is happening right now? They must hate me for some reason. Stop it. Just stop.
Yeah. Like what's another big one? Oh, that client didn't sign up with me. So I must not be given enough value. They must not understand. Right. Or Sharon, maybe you say, well, they didn't buy my painting because I'm not doing a good enough job on, my art or whatever it may be. That's actually not the truth. None of that is. Right. If someone decides they don't want to lose weight, Vicky, that has everything to do with them. That has nothing to do with you.
Right.
Or your ability.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just for us to remember. Hi, Rosie. I saw that you popped in a little while ago and you're on mute. We didn't get a chance to say hi to you. If you want to come off mute real quick and introduce yourself.
Hi there, Colleen. Sorry, I have a lot of things going on in the background, so I didn't want to make sure that the speaker isn't, interrupted. But thank you for having me here, Colleen, and hosting these great speakers. I'm getting a lot of value from it, and I appreciate you hosting these. I am new to the group, so second time around here. So I've been really kind of enjoying just some of the things and leaping towards different, going different routes and doing different things and changing behaviors and, not just psychological, but also physical. So
yeah,
there's a lot, of things that we need to do. And as you mentioned, entrepreneurs, we are busy and put everyone else and everything, everything else in our to-do list first before we put ourselves. So that's just kind of a mentality that needs to be broken.
Yeah, that was powerful. And Julie shared that for sure. And where are you coming from again, Rosie? Tell us what city and state you're in.
I am in Phoenix, Arizona.
Nice. She's in our backyard, Julie.
All right, Rosie, we're going to have to connect.
Was she on your networking call that you did?
The leprechaun might have to come and make a visit.
I love it. I'm going to have to give me one of those.
Yeah, Julie's got them all, man. I remember in COVID, she was doing videos in a blow up dinosaur outfit, walking her dogs down the street. And I was just laughing my butt off. I just could not stop laughing. It was everything she was doing every day was just the craziest stuff. It's, and how many of you, I just want to ask the question, when you saw Julie in the outfit, how many of you immediately in your head thought to myself, oh my gosh, there's no way I could wear an outfit like that on Zoom? Anybody?
No, my thought was, where the heck does she store that costume? That big head.
She has closets full of them. Trust me. But most people think like, oh my gosh, she's so brave. She's so courageous. And then you think to yourself, well, what was the worst thing that could happen if you wore the outfit? And who cares when anyone else thinks, so many. And I love that you said that, Julie, because do you remember when vulnerability was a thing that was talked to as weak? If you show your emotion, right? That's why many men don't show emotion or cry, because of them being raised to be strong men. Well, if you're saying strong is not crying, then you're saying crying is weak, right? Because that's the opposite of that. So it really wasn't until Brene Brown came out and talked about the vulnerability piece and all the research that she did with so many people, and how that shift of us believing, and so many men I hear today will say, thank you to Brene Brown, everyone realizes today that vulnerability is courage and bravery. Because it takes courage and bravery to put on an outfit. But to Julie, it just is fun because she's gotten so used to it at this point. But for someone like me, it would take like a little bit more bravery and courage to get out and do that. Because for some people, it is, they care so much about whatever other people think that they worry about what they're doing and how they're seen by another person. When really, if you think about that, does it really matter? Does it really matter? It doesn't in the big scheme of things. You have to stay true to, Julie stays true to her purpose, no matter where she is and where she goes. And she talks her talk and walks her walk and is very consistent, and it's admirable. And it's a lesson that we can all learn by, which is why I even aligned myself and put Julie in my life, was because of the high vibration of energy that she has to have more fun. And she lives like every day lives. She's done with that. I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting to it. In fact, if you even challenge her to say, well, why aren't you doing that? What are you waiting on? She'll be like, well, I don't know what I'm waiting on. I'm going to start doing it. Because then she just doesn't realize our subconscious mind, stops us. So it happens to all of us, right, Julie?
It does.
We're always practicing on becoming the best version of ourselves. And that's all anyone can ask of us. And that's all we can ask of ourselves. Stop beating yourselves up, right? Every day is just a gift to wake up and be a better version of yourself. So you're a blessing to all of us, Julie. Thank you so much for being here today and gracing us with your presence, because you are amazing. And I know every woman here thinks you're amazing. And I know everyone that watches this video will think you're amazing. So I don't know if did you drop anything in the chat for people to be able to reach out to you and connect with you?
No, because I was so into my speaking. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
Let me just grab my
put some information in there so that someone that would love to connect with you and have a conversation with you, or just get to know you a little bit better, pop on your website and want to get a little bit more in your circle, connect with you on LinkedIn. It's a good place for them to do that. And ladies, thank you so much for joining us as we ramp up these Thrive Thursday masterclasses. Our members of the LEAP community are taking the leap every Thursday as they come on here and promote who they are, promote their message, make the biggest impact possible, and share their own stories and teach you, each one of us, how to better our lives, our relationships, ourselves, our businesses, in every way possible. So thanks for bringing your juju, Julie Jones.
You're welcome. And Sharon, I'm glad you saw it in your email and you jumped on, because that's saying yes to life opportunities.
It is. Yeah. All right. All right, ladies, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your St. Patty's Day and rest of your week. And we will see you next Thursday for another masterclass. Watch out for all of the updates on those, and they'll come straight into your inbox from Meetup now that you've registered. So every time we post an event, you'll get notified. So easy peasy. We'll see you guys again soon. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.